What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. We got some more charts to look at today. That's right, we got more charts to look at. Account stat or stat account posted more stuff yesterday, and I really liked what I saw, so now we're going to talk about it. By the way, he continues to be one of the best accounts on the site. Go check him out. He posts a lot of stuff just like this every week. So, I want to talk about two positional groups on the Seahawks specifically, because there are certain things on this team that are consistently working through the first two games of the year, right? Geno Smith has been consistently good. The pass rush has been consistently good. The secondary, the pass coverage has been consistently good outside of a little bit of a problem with the linebackers in this last game, which ultimately wasn't even that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. So I want to celebrate these things as much as we can while we can, because there might come a day where we can't. There could come a day in November where these things aren't working so well. So while the good times are here, the good times need to be celebrated. So I want to look at two charts here that I found to be really, really cool and also really, really informative on how good the Seahawks have it through these first two games at these two particular positions, wide receiver and cornerback. Going to lead with receiver, and Stat Account posted this chart yesterday, and this predates Monday Night Football for whatever that's worth. I'm sure that somebody like a Devonta Smith would be very positively rated after what happened on the Monday night game, but it wouldn't change this chart in any radical way. So let's zoom in a little bit on it, and what we have here is a chart of every receiver in the NFL that has run at least 45 routes through the first 2 weeks of the season. So it's basically every receiver that is playing significant football, right? Because if you're a significantly used wide receiver in the NFL, you're going to run more than 22, 23 routes per game. So a lot of teams are going to have 3 receivers on this chart. Some teams are going to have 2. Near as I can tell, one team has 1, which is pretty wacky. Pretty hard to do that, but I'm pretty sure most teams have 3 players listed here. And what this is charting, excuse me, wide receiver efficiency. Okay, efficiency, because we can look at number of receptions, number of receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns all we want to. That's only telling us a very small part of the picture. Receivers run routes countless times every game, and they don't get the ball thrown their way. So we need other numbers to fully contextualize how good players are playing. So the x-axis on this chart is yards per route. So basically, this determines efficiency. How often are you getting yards per the routes that you run? And you can see that the worst receivers are at 0, presumably because they don't have any receiving yards at all. So it's just, 0 divided by whatever. And then the top guys are at 4 yards per route. So that means every time they run a route, on average, they're getting 4 receiving yards. And that's really, really hard to do. You can see that only a few guys are up here beyond 3.5 even. So where do the Seahawks come in here? Well, just looking at the x-axis, you can see that DK Metcalf is here at about 2.2 or 2.3, and there are a handful of names ahead of him. If you drew the line like right here, Marvin Harrison Jr., Romeo Doubs, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb would be the receivers in his immediate vicinity. Devontae Adams right behind him. You've got, obviously, the through 2 weeks super studs in yards per route, like Alec Pierce, Rashee Rice, Nico Collins, Justin Jefferson, Chris Godwin. By the way, Chris Godwin has completely broken this chart. Look at this. This is disgusting right here. Look at him. Look at him. Okay, enough looking at him. So you've got that. JSN not far behind at about 2 yards per route. So he's here with like Mike Evans, Josh Reynolds, Calvin Ridley, a little ahead of Alan Lazard and Gabe Davis, a little behind a guy like a Cooper Kupp. So they're in the positive, right? Because this red line is basically league average, right? So if you're on the right side of this red line, you are above league average in yards per route. Yards per route average is right around 1.55 or so. So we got a third guy on this chart. It's right here, Tyler Lockett. If you can see where my mouse is, you can see that he's basically right at average. 1.5 yards per route. And consider the fact that in terms of actual production, each of our three receivers have only had one notable game each. Metcalf and JSN in the most recent game, and then Lockett in the first game. So even when the production isn't big, the efficiency is really good. I would challenge any other team on this chart to have three guys that are in this strong of a position. And this is just the x-axis. I haven't even done the y-axis yet. But is there another team that has three receivers that are this well positioned in the efficiency area? Like, you've got the Chiefs. They got Rashee Rice all the way up here. Xavier Worthy's right near the middle. He's a little behind the middle, actually. But who's their third guy? Do they have a third guy here? I'm not even sure if they have a third guy charted right now. So, no, you've got, the Niners, they got Jawan Jennings and Debo in the positive area. That's pretty good. But their third guy is Brandon Ayuk, who's way back here. He hasn't had a very good start to the season. The Buccaneers are doing great. They got Chris Godwin ruling the world right now, and Mike Evans is right here, so he's in a good spot, but Jalen McMillan's way back here. Texans have Nico Collins, who's been awesome, but then you got Stephon Diggs, who's still, he's got some work to do, and Tank Dell's all the way down here. He's actually in a really bad spot right now, so I don't see that level of balance and elite efficiency, or at least capable efficiency, from any other team's top three receivers right now. Jacksonville's got Brian Thomas Jr. He's in a really good spot up here, and we'll talk about what that means in a second here. But then you got Christian Kirk down here in the bad place. You don't want to be down here. Gabe Davis is here. He's doing okay, right? But look at Christian Kirk. All right, so that's the X. Now let's talk about the Y, which is passer rating, which is very simple. What is your quarterback's passer rating when he targets you? Very simple, right? So you can see that DK Metcalf, over 120. So when Geno targets DK, he's happy with the results. He's getting the numbers. JSN, just under 100 when he's targeted. Again, a little above average. This red line right here, going from left to right, this is average. So DK, well above average. He's actually up with the top 10 probably. Like, the top 10 would probably be what? Godwin, Thomas Jr., Wilson, Diggs, Marvin Harrison, Nico Collins, Devontae Adams, Allen Lazard, and DK Metcalf, right? Maybe Brandon Cooks gets thrown in there, and that's everybody who's up over 120. And then JSN, he's hanging around at about 100 here, so above average. So the only area that the Seahawks are having any degree of, I don't know if you can call it a problem, but a quote-unquote problem would be Lockett, who is below average in passer rating. He's down at about 70. And the reason why that is because the interception that Geno threw on his first throw of the season was, I think, accredited as a target to Tyler Lockett. That's the only way you could come up with this. Because when targeted, Lockett has been fine. So the interception must have been given to Lockett, which I think is kind of silly, personally, when Geno got hit as he threw. The ball fluttered around and got nowhere near Lockett. So to act like that had anything to do with Lockett seems silly to me. You take that interception out, Lockett is probably above average as well. And he's probably very, very close to the good quadrant. Because the way this chart is done, you want to be in the upper right corner. This is good, right? This upper right corner is good. This is explosive, but how should I put this, right? Like this lower right quadrant would be what? You're getting a lot of yards per route, but your quarterback isn't very efficient. This probably means that you're getting targeted on interceptions. This probably means that you're inefficient, but your quarterback isn't throwing interceptions when he throws it to you. And this means it's not working. This means if you're down here, life is bad. And Lockett is technically in the bad quadrant, but look at how close he is to crossing over here. And again, the only reason why he's not up here is because of that interception that was targeted to him. So, really strong here. Really good stuff. And the Seahawks have not played... Maybe they played bad teams, but I don't think they played bad defenses. And they haven't played bad cornerbacks either. Denver's got good cornerbacks. New England has at least one good cornerback. I don't know about the rest of them, but Christian Gonzalez is good. So they're not feasting against terrible corners to boost these numbers. So that's the first chart. The second chart that StatAccount posted that I want to look at is basically the same thing, but for cornerbacks. Cornerback coverage. Again, this is not including Monday Night Football, but Monday Night Football would not radically change this chart. This is even better. This is even better. You've got the x-axis, which is yards allowed per snap. If you're all the way out here, that means you're allowing more than 2 yards per coverage snap, which is atrocious. Carlton Davis III, Jalen Jones. Really rough start to the season here. And then as you start coming in this way and this way, you're getting better and better at preventing yards per coverage snap. The league average is just under a yard right here, this red line that's going up and down. And then you come in and come in and come in and come in. You can get around here. It's about half a yard per snap. And then all the way down here, this is the rarefied area of 0 yards allowed per snap. And the only way to do that would be to basically have not allowed any catches. So right away, boom, boom, boom. Trey Brown is the lowest rated Seahawk here. And he's well above average, just over half a yard allowed per snap. Riq Woolen, he's at like what? What is this? 0.35 yards per snap near the top. Devin Witherspoon has him beat. This is like what? 0.3, 0.28. One of the best. Very much elite. Who's better than him so far? Christian Fulton, Nate Hobbs, Trent McDuffie, Kobe Durant, Christian Benford, Zion McCollum, Shaq Griffin. What's up, Shaq Griffin? Haven't seen you in a while. Good for you. And yeah, he's in the top 10 in that area. And then you have your y-axis, which is passer rating allowed. And again, I want to stress the way this chart is done, upper right is good. You want to be up and to the right. So the red line here is at about, what would that be? 75. This would be somewhere around 85. So average is 85. Trey Brown is currently the lowest, or the weakest of the 3 corners in this area, but he is still significantly above average. He's somewhere around like 68, I think, if I had to guess. He's just ahead of Witherspoon. Witherspoon's a little bit better. He's somewhere around 63, if I had to estimate here. And then you've got Riq Woolen, who is... Now, the reason why Riq Woolen's here is because he's caught an interception, and the other 2 guys haven't. Interceptions are killer for your passer rating. But that's how he gets up into the top 5. And that's how he's currently, through the first few games of the season, like he belongs in the elite of the elite. Jalen Johnson, Kamari Lassiter, Zion McCollum, Christian Benford. Like, those 5 guys would probably be the 5 best corners in the league so far on an efficiency basis. And again, this is the good quadrant right here. This is where you want to be. All 3 of the Seahawks corners are in the good quadrant. One of them is elite, and the other, Witherspoon's all the way to the right here. He gets 1 interception, and he's joining Woolen in the I'm Elite party. And Trey Brown, who is the guy who, if anything, is going to get picked on this year because of the absence of anyone else to pick on, he's still well above average. And again, I ask, how many other teams have this? Do any other teams have 3 players in this top right quadrant? Like, does... I mean, I see a couple teams with 2, right? The Patriots have 2. Christian Gonzalez, and I think this is Jonathan Jones here. Okay. Steelers have 2. Joey Porter Jr., Dante Jackson. Bengals have 2. Cam Taylor, Britton, Dax Hill. But who else has 3? Who else comes even close to 3? Does anybody? And obviously, the caveat here has to be, we haven't played good receivers yet. The Broncos receivers are terrible, and the Patriots receivers, they barely even use them because they know how bad they are. But We're not the only team out there that's played bad receivers. And look at all this. Look at how good this is. And I want to be very clear here. As we play better teams, maybe not this week even, we're playing maybe the best receivers in football, but maybe they don't have a quarterback who can get them the ball. Eventually, we're going to play better receivers. We're going to play the Niners. They're probably going to have Ayuk and Debo, and, well, that's all they need, realistically. And eventually, these guys are going to give up something, right? Woolen's basically given up nothing through 2 games. Witherspoon's given up very little. Trey Brown's given up, like, 1 big play against the Broncos. That wasn't even that bad. It's going to change, but everything that you could say about that also applies to every other team. Every other team's played 2 games, right? So when you look in this quadrant right here, it just stands out to you, right? Like the Seahawks are living their best life. Witherspoon hasn't even caught an interception yet. He had like 2 chances against Denver, bounced off his hands. He's still a borderline elite cornerback in efficiency. Again, we get so caught up on volume stats that I really like to make videos about this efficiency stuff so we as fans can understand how good these guys do from snap to snap. The only time some people notice a cornerback is when they give up a big play or when they get an interception. But snap to snap, nobody has it like us in these 2 areas. Nobody. All right. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think. Maybe another video later today, maybe not. We'll see. But, yeah, I just wanted to really explore that because I saw these charts and I was like, wow, we've got it good right now. Maybe better than most people are thinking. It's hard to have it this good. All right. See you guys either later today or tomorrow. Go Hawks.